Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what is round 2 of the Scottish Football Social Club and Premier Sports this season. If you missed us last week, a quick reminder, we'll be with you every single Monday night throughout the season after every league and cup weekend, plus all of the Premiership, Scottish Cup and Premier Sports Cup highlights on this show as well. And we do all of that with Alan Hutton and Michael Stewart, plus some special guests too, just to keep these guys on their toes. We are live on YouTube and X again. We got through some questions last week, so send some good ones in again, some relatively clean ones made air last week. And before I go any further, I should say the Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense, just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game, proper odds, no gimmicks. Al, no gimmicks in Scottish football this week. Some brilliant European results. Let's hope for more of the same in the next few days. And some brilliant weekend matches as well for us to talk about and see the highlights from.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, the European side of it, I think, is brilliant for the teams to be doing well. It's only good for Scottish football. It's getting eyes on our league as well. And yeah, lots of ups and downs at the weekend. Some highs and some lows for certain people, but we keep moving forward.
Don't you worry. We'll get to that. And you know, Michael loves a deal, don't you? He loves a deal. Premier Sports, the guys at Premier Sports have sent me a deal. Apparently, if you use the promo code PSCUP25, so PS Cup and the number 25, you get your annual subscription for £99. That's available on Sky and the Premier Sports player. And by the way, Michael, terms and conditions obviously apply as always, Michael. And by the way, I have to tell you, right, that we're also available as a podcast as well now, as of Tuesday morning. A lot of people have already written in once that news were released to say this is too much Michael Stewart for anyone. But I can tell everyone at home that, Mikey, that'll be your favourite podcast because you're on it.
Well, of course, Darrell, yes.
You better listen to yourself.
Unbelievable. That's all he had coming back. I can't believe it. Anyway, right, Michael, obviously no small talk tonight. So shall we just get right into the action? Because there's so many good games and so many goals to look through this week. Let's start with Livingston Falkirk, one of the Saturday games. The kind of match that teams are just desperate to get off the board, get your first win, back in the top flight. Livy have done that and did it in a fair bit of style, actually.
Yeah, they did. I mean, look, I don't think you can discount the impact of last season on this fixture in terms of Davy Martindale really just having it over on John McGlynn and Falkirk. The psychological edge, and it's continued into this season as well. And you're right that it was a bit of style. There's definitely. Livy have always been competitive and strong anyway, but playing on the new green AstroTurf at Amon Vale is certainly going to help them this season in regards to playing a bit quicker football. I mean, that's an incredible goal from Lewis Smith. Really, really cracking goal. And the problem for Falkirk, as we saw last week, is that defensively they're a little bit
frailties.
Fragile.
Aye.
They're fragile.
It's the one thing for me, I like the way they play football. I mean, I like the way the team go about it. They started actually okay. They like to get their fullbacks high and wide and balls into the box. But like you said, Mikey, and we spoke about it last week, defensively, I mean, the mistakes that they're making, the gaps you see there, I mean, at this level, you can't do that. You will be punished. And that's now 2 weeks in a row that they've conceded goals because defensively they've not been great.
What did Falkirk what do they need to do, Michael? Do they need to just stay calm? Because they're sticking with their principles, as you know. They've made some additions to the squad, but they're also sticking with a lot of the personnel that performed so well last season too. Do they just need to stay calm? Because they had opportunities at the start of that match, by the way.
Yeah, they did. But, I mean, the issue, it's not a case of you need to abandon your principles playing football. It's just they need to really focus on, how to defend properly. And those two things they're not mutually exclusive. I think when you look at the defensive setup, especially even for the third goal there, it's like there isn't a defence. You're looking around going, where are the players? And that, I think, just comes down to an element of concentration and perhaps just on the training ground, just it's boring and laborious, but running through constantly especially the turnovers. When you're in possession, you lose possession. Where is the team structurally as a defensive unit? Because, that's just too easy. The third goal, when you look at that, it's just a simple ball forward, and all of a sudden you've got players running through on goal. That shouldn't be happening like that.
No, but as for Livy, though, kind of priceless 3 points to get them on the board already, Al, and also some of the additions that they've made. Looks like they've done some clever business. Guys like Mo Silla and others who know the top flight, know how to compete at that level.
And experience. I think that always helps. When you come back into the league, you need a little bit of experience, a little bit of know-how from time to time that you can lean on them. And look, I like the way they play football, and they showed good character. You think of last week, coming from 2-0 down to get a point, then going into this game, we're actually seeing what they're capable of. They want to play football. They want to create goal opportunities, which we've seen there. And they're taking them really well. You can see they've worked on it. Like the Pittman goal, for an example, they win the ball high up, they get it across the box, it's cut back in, and he's there. He's done that on numerous occasions already. So I like what I've seen so far from Livy.
Let's move on then to St Mirren, Motherwell. Conditions weren't great in this game. No goals for us to see, but a few chances, few opportunities. We obviously had the new Motherwell manager on the show last week, and I think after we spoke to Jens Bertalasco, Michael, you were talking about how can Motherwell make the most of this new playing style, and maybe it is the final third of the pitch. No panic clearly from the manager speaking after the match, but again, chances there not taken this week, some injury problems as well.
That is the crux of it for Motherwell this season. I go back to the first game that I saw of them in the Premier Sports Cup against Morton at home, and the couple of games that were leading into that, it was the same sort of narrative in terms of not being able to score, not being able to take their chances. They ended up winning the game against Morton comfortably, but there was a moment where dominating possession, creating chances, not scoring, you could sense there was a degree of anxiety. Then they got the first goal and the pressure came off. But I think that's going to be a constant theme this season for Motherwell in terms of first goal is key in the game. Yeah. And I know it's key in a lot of them, but even more so with Motherwell, because I do think that if they get the first goal, I think they could be very difficult to beat, because they will dominate the ball, they'll control the possession, and in turn control a lot of the game. They were very, this is it again from Motherwell, from defence, from the goalkeeper up until the edge of the box, they were in control of that game. And St Mirren away is a very difficult fixture.
Yeah.
And I know they had a couple of opportunities laterally, St Mirren, but they really did limit St Mirren, Motherwell. So credit to them, but they're going to be disappointed coming away for this that they've not picked up 3 points in the end, because large chunks of this was them, yet again, great build-up play, getting into these sorts of areas. It's got to score.
Or square. Or square it.
Aye. But what I'm meaning is the ball's got to end up in the back of the net. You're 5 yards out for goal. That's the difference maker right there. So, yeah, I mean, the wind definitely played a part in the game as well. It spoiled it to a certain extent.
I think from Motherwell's point of view as well, like you're saying, Mikey, it's nice to go and watch attractive football, but there has to be a point to it. I mean, you can keep possession and it looks really nice, but eventually you have to have that threat where you see an opportunity, a gap opening up, bang, you hit it, somebody's through and goal, and you get the obviously rewards for playing that way. But it's the one thing when I was watching that game, I worried for them, moving forward. Nice way of football, but you have to be dangerous.
Sorry, 1 point out of 6 for St Mirren, Michael, as well. Obviously, not easy fixtures. They would have wanted 3 points in that game, but not easy fixtures. You think about the game at Celtic Park. They've already shown up well, though, haven't they? Overall, they're going to be a difficult side to beat. Kanu Bakis has returned this week too. It just looks like that squad is just really well equipped, maybe to have another run, perhaps at the top 6. Why not?
Bakis is a good signing. Yeah. I mean, look, in all seriousness, that Stephen Robinson's side are going to be difficult and competitive. That's just it's a given with the way that they are. Top 6 is going to be a very interesting one, and I think it'll be a real tough battle for 6th place, because I see the the bigger clubs in the league getting their act together to a great extent, which means that sort of mid-table teams that are trying to break into the top six, the opportunity becomes more and more difficult. So for St Mirren, of course, they're going to be knocking on the door there, but it's a very, very difficult challenge. And I think, obviously, over the last few years, Stephen Robinson's been given a lot of credit for it. That consistency of getting into the top six 3 years in the trot, it's a great achievement. 4 years in the trot, that's going to be, maybe just a step too far.
We'll see. Just going back to Motherwell, obviously some news tonight. Michael, I'll come to you first on this. Lennon Miller looks like he's off to Italy. Another Scottish player trying to make his name over there. Udinese, £4.5 million is what I've read. Now, I'll go back to last season, and I think you felt that there was a few more millions there available maybe to Motherwell. Is that a good figure for a boy of this talent, do you think? I'm not saying it's not a good league to go to, but it seemed like there was quite a few other clubs interested. Is that a good figure, do you think, for Motherwell?
I don't think it's a bad figure. I don't think you could say it's a bad figure. And he's still very young. I think it's a great move for Lennon. I think it's the perfect place, good club, and Italian football. You look at Lennon Miller, and I think if you're looking at a league, one of the top 5 leagues, I think you're looking at the likes of Italy or La Liga. He's just perfectly suited for that style of football. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does. I was just messaging his old man earlier there. They're in Rome at the moment. They're doing a medical tomorrow morning. So fingers crossed all goes well and the deal's completed tomorrow, I'd imagine, at some point. And Leo will be able to get his fix of nice pizza and pasta when he flies over.
I've actually been to Udine, would you believe? Many moons ago on a football trip. I think we're Celtic playing over there. I can't remember. Anyway, I was working for somebody back in the day. Udine, great little town, great little place.
Near to the Alps.
Probably find. Oh, here we go.
Well, it's not. Perfect life, Alan. Go to the mountains.
Near Venice.
I believe you. Someone I'll need to try.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, what an opportunity for the boy, Alan.
Brilliant.
Well
Absolutely
deserved.
Brilliant. I mean, it really is. He's worked ever so hard. I mean, he's still so young as well. There'll be a lot of improvement with him throughout the years to come. He'll learn when he's over there, a new culture. I think it's brilliant, again, for Scotland coming back, for the national team, all that sort of thing. And as well, the fee, right, is okay, but there might be a sell-on in that as well. It could help them if he goes and kicks on and really does what we think he's capable of. I think it's an absolute brilliant move.
Hutch makes a good point, Daz, that I think, when it comes to these types of deals, there's going to be a sell-on because when you look at Lennon Miller, I just think that the growth and the potential for him is huge. He's at the right, league to go and progress. It's brilliant for the national team. I can't emphasise enough how much better it is to have some of our young talent going to the continent rather than down a funnel down south where the opportunities can be a wee bit more limited. Whereas you go to the continent and you're talking about, 5 or 6 leagues, there's more opportunities, it's different style of football. You get types of player who might not just be suited to going down south and playing, but you can go to the continent and you can become a star, whereas perhaps if you go down south, you might, drift. So I think for the national team as well, Lennon Miller stepped in over the summer and he was a standout. I think he's potentially, cementing his place in the middle of the park there alongside Billy Gilmore. The two of them dovetailed brilliantly. And I know it was against lesser opposition, but I can really see Lennon Miller in there alongside Billy Gilmore really controlling that ball for the national team.
Let's hope so. Lewis Ferguson over there, and of course Scott McTominay. And Ewan Henderson as well, doing well in places over there. We know other Scots have gone and performed, like Josh Doig and Aaron Hickey and others. So that trend just continues. Right, onwards, Al, sorry to have to do this. I managed to get through 15 minutes before we managed to get to Rangers. You were at Ibrox, weren't you, for Rangers against Dundee? Look, before we get into Rangers, actually, should we give a lot of credit to Dundee? The pressure was on Stephen Presley ahead of this match. Not many people had them down as getting anything from that game, and yet they've come away from it with an awful lot of credit.
Absolutely. I mean, they had a game plan, and it worked to a T, to be honest. And I think he was under pressure. You're right, with the start to the league, obviously going out the Premier Sports Cup wasn't ideal either. Was it the best choice for a lot of the supporters when they first found out? Maybe not. So I think that was kind of building. So to go there with the game plan, execute it perfectly. They were dangerous from set plays. I mean, I don't know why Rangers didn't figure that out from the first couple. I mean, but it was as if they were going zonal. Nobody was really taking charge of the situation, and it just allowed Dundee to take advantage. I mean, you see here, I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's a chip ball to the back post. Of course, Clark Robertson does really well. He heads it back and Aston's there just to tap it in. But it's difficult to watch at this moment in time. I'm not going to lie. It's so Jekyll and Hyde. You don't really know what you're going to get. I think Finn Robertson there does brilliant. He cuts across the jig and it can't get out the way of it. He's going through and goal. It's going to be a red card and a sending off. And I was speaking to Michael because I originally thought this was a penalty. So we're at the side of the pitch. I'm like, it's a penalty. And he says, trust me. He says, watch it a couple of times. He says, if you get a chance, watch it. And I did. And I just feel that he's went down way too easy. He's kicked his legs up. He's kind of fallen over. He's bought it, really. And I don't know why VAR didn't look at it to possibly overturn it. But at this moment in time, it's very difficult to watch.
Both teams, as you can see, even after that, had their opportunities to win the game. Astley with a header, really good chance from the corner. And then this from Dessers late on. We've discussed Cyril Dessers an awful lot on this show, but is this not a bit deja vu? It feels as if it's kind of the cycle's repeating itself with Dessers. He's offside an awful lot. And at big moments, I'm not saying he's not come up with some big goals as well for the club, but when you need him most, sometimes he does strange things like that. He can't be offside there, can he?
You can't. It's impossible. It just needs to read the situation, move up with the defenders. He doesn't actually even need to make any space for himself. See if he's just onside. He's in a decent position on the pitch where he can take a touch and get a strike away. It's a little bit lazy. Like he's just he's jogging out. He's not really keeping up with the pace of the game. You can't be offside in that situation, especially when you're pushing.
I was going to say, do you not think it's just lacking concentration? You know, when you look at defenders in a defensive aspect, it's the same for the striker. You know, the game's getting played, but he just needs to be concentrating all the time. And if he's concentrating, then he takes literally one step up. And as Alan says, he's not then getting marked. He's still in that pocket of space. But I mean, look, for Rangers, the problem there is that, and I think, I was saying this last week, that it feels like they are constantly rebuilding on shifting sands and the rubble from what was there before. There's never been strong foundations put in place. And you're still got lag and leftover from Michael Beale's time. You know, you look at some of the players that are there that are not doing anything. And then you look at some of the players that have come in now. And early on, you're looking and going, I'm not sure they're going to, cut the mustard. And I genuinely, and I, again, say this, with no disrespect, but the hierarchy of the club are almost exclusively from down south. And the manager is as well. And I don't think they recognise the need and the importance on the domestic aspect. I don't think they recognise how important. And for example, little things like, and I know there was the takeover and it's not as easy, but domestic players that would make a huge difference. There's Lennon Miller that's just gone to Udinese.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Go and spend $5 million and make a mark. Now, it's not to say the deal could get done, but go and spend. Look at the resale value you've got in him, but look at the quality that you get straight away. Greg Taylor, better left back than anything that's in the club. There was nothing ever really done about that. Again, not to say that it would be done. And Lawrence Shankland up top, they could have got him on a free transfer. Shanklin, Taylor free transfers, 5 million for Lennon Miller, and go and get Vaclav Cherny, who was in the building already. Now, nobody can tell me that 4 players would not improve Rangers, not just in terms of quality, but the actual steel and determination and desire that is sorely lacking.
I'll come back to Rangers in just a second. I'll come back to them in just a second. I just want to go back to the penalty one more time, Michael, because you had some words to say on it as well. Just to look at that incident again.
Yes, I had one word. One word. No.
Well, a lot of Dundee fans have been in touch, as you can
not a penalty,
understand, can't you? I also saw some other supporters online saying, isn't it the same as the Giga incident? Doesn't he just run across him? So, Michael, just in your opinion, then just clarify what's particularly different about the two of them.
Well, the sending off is the classic incident where a player cuts across and there's a coming together and a collision that forces the player over. What happens with the penalty kick is Gassama cuts across Dre Wright. And when you look at it and you're looking, right, where's the collision? Is there a clip of the heels? Is there a clip, on the knees or anything like that? There isn't anything. Gassama pulls Dre Wright's jersey to try and get him in closer and then flicks his legs up. So that's the difference. That the contact wasn't from the defender onto the attacker that put him down. Gassama,
I'm surprised they didn't look at it.
Well, they obviously did look at it, and I heard it. They looked at it.
So that's what I was going to say, because you were doing the co-coms. Could you hear them actually speaking over it?
Yeah,
and they were just
confirming on-field decision.
It doesn't look great, Al. It doesn't look great. No. Do you think VAR should have intervened?
Yeah, as a football person, when I watch them, and I had to see it again, because my first instincts were it was a penalty. But when I see it again, I can totally see what he's doing. And it was what you said in commentary, Michael. He's got in front of him, he's tried to get him closer, and then he knows that he's in a dangerous situation. So he's flicked his legs up, as you can see, goes over, and it's given where the actual red card for Rangers, that is a classic situation where you do really well to get in front of the defender. There is contact. He's going through towards goal. So it's a red card and a sending off. So
you can understand why the ref gave the penalty. Because like Alan's saying, you see it happening in real time, and your instinct is, it's one of those instances, the attacker's across the defender, there's a collision, he goes down. But then when you see the replay, you can see it differently. But see, the other thing, just to go back to the sending off, and Alan made this point when we were off air afterwards, if you look at that sending off again, there's a couple of little moments that it might not have made a difference, but it doesn't look great. In the middle of the park, first of all, when Wesley picks it up and drives forward, Rothwell's in the complete wrong position. He allows him to drive forward, and he's almost trying to cut off a lateral pass instead of stepping across and trying to block the run. And then when Finn Robertson's running through, Max Aarons, and this was Hutz that saw it, he just sort of jogs and then stops. If he sprints with them, it might not have been a last man tackle. And it may
sees a fullback. What you do is as if he was kind of trying to play him offside in a way. In his mind, he was thinking he's maybe going to run beyond and he'll be off. So he's kind of held up a little bit. See, if you're unsure as a fullback, you sprint back in and you cover. It's quite simple as that. And he's actually stopped and then went again. Time had passed, and then what happened. So I think there was just a couple of little situations where if they were really switched on to it, it could have been avoided, I think.
Final one on Dundee, and then I've got a couple of questions for you, Rangers related, Al. You'll be delighted to know.
Yeah,
Michael, do you like the business they've done? Jan Danda coming into Dundee. Simon Murray apparently was calling non-stop every moment of every day until he said yes. And obviously, Simon Murray himself, by the way, is close to coming back from injury. So, positives for Stephen Presley after a good result, which could have been better.
Yeah, Jan Dander's a good signing. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, the next stage for Dundee and the key for them is that you look at the Hibs game and the Rangers game there. It was the Hibs game didn't work, but it was the same sort of thing. They were trying to make sure they were very difficult to break down. Rangers away, you can understand that sort of thought process, but they need to show a far greater attacking intent in more games that they obviously come up with. Jan Danda and Simon Murray will obviously help massively in that respect. So good bit of business, and hopefully that result for Dundee is something that can give them a bit of confidence to kick on from here. And good luck to Stephen Presley in the process for that.
Right, okay, Al, I've got a few questions for you. I don't need necessarily big long answers here because I've got a few to get through. Right, Rangers, after the result against Victoria Pilsen, the positivity's back, and then, the old playing well in Europe, domestic form tripping up again. It feels a lot like last season, the season prior as well. So quite a few talking points after the game. First of all, Russell Martin and his comments. I don't know what he meant by them, but when he said he was relieved to get a draw, it seems to have rubbed a few fans up the wrong way. What do you think?
Well, look, he's going to come out and speak his mind. He's done that since he's been at the club. It's not something I would have said that I'd have been happy to take a draw. Like I don't really get his opinion on that. You have to go out there and win. I think Dundee set themselves up to be difficult, to break down. Rangers struggle, and I think that's why they're good in Europe, because they're playing against teams who want to come out and play football, which gives them the opportunity to move the ball about quick, get the pace of the wingers in behind. Dundee just didn't allow it to happen. You're not going to get space. But back to
Rangers
the comments, it's not something. I don't think it's something you can come out and say when you're expected to win. The expectation's on you to go out there and win every single week. You can't be happy with a draw.
Okay,
Darrell, quickly on that.
Yeah,
he was obviously talking about the context of the game.
Oh, no doubt.
But to come out and say that, I think shows a great degree of naivety with what is expected at the club. You can't, as Alan's saying, you just can't say that, regardless of how the game's gone.
He's obviously completely honest, but that one has upset a few fans. I think
it's
just
naive. It's naive.
And he should know. I mean, he's been at the football club.
Yeah.
Right. Kieran Dowell, booed by a few fans when he came on the pitch, but continues to get quite a lot of game time. Al, what do you think?
Yeah, but I don't like it. I still don't like it. I've never been one for that. Oh, I get it. Fans, they pay their money. They want to go and have their say, which is absolutely fine. Remember, he's a Rangers player. So, in my opinion, as a footballer, it doesn't help when your own fans are booing you. You're not going to play better. The manager's obviously seen something in him, right? But the problem is, and I've seen it a lot, you can have players that are very good in training. But see, when it comes to game time, the whole situation, the crowd, the boos, you're not able to function the way that you would like to. The manager must think he fits into his plans. He obviously likes him. He's name-checked him a few times, and he, as you say, he gives him minutes. So I don't think he's the answer right now. Has he got potential? Possibly. But I think from what I've seen, there needs to be more.
Okay, let's see what happens with team selection. Yes, go on, Mikey.
This, to me, strikes at the heart of the issue at Rangers in regards to the expectation for success that's clear from the supporters. But what happens there is that the level of frustration, because you talk, and Russell Martin will talk about it's a new group of players, new manager and all that. It's the same fans.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it before. It's like this has been seen before. This is like the fourth run of this. It's rinse and repeat. So for the fans, the frustration is always bubbling under the surface. So I completely agree with Alan. As a footballer, you can't have that. And for a teammate, you feel for them as well. But this is the toxic issue that Rangers have got, and there's no easy way out of this. This is why it is so important that they sign players who are capable of handling the pressure of playing at Ibrox, because the frustration of the fans is massive, and there's no margin for error at the moment at Rangers.
Gassama's looked a positive. Ant-Man as well, obviously, in the European game, looked as if he could be extremely handy. Giga, I think, has had a lot of praise. I know the red card at the weekend. He looks like he could be handy for them too. Asgard's to come back. There's more players as well still to be slotted in. Looks like they're about to sign another centre-half, left-sided in Noble Mendy.
Here's one for you, Darrell. See, when you talk about all those guys, right, and Alan mentioned it just before, Dundee looked threatening from almost every ball that went into the box.
They did.
Right. Max Aarons is small. Jefty's not good in the air. Rothwell's small. Cameron's small. Diamondi's not great in the air. Gassama's small. Ant-Man's small. So you've got two centre-halves and a striker. They're going to suffer from set pieces. Teams are going to physically out-muscle Rangers, particularly from set pieces. And that's a fact, because they don't have the physicality in the team.
They had to go and be aggressive with Dundee, and they just weren't. They were off. It looked like they were slightly zonal at times. Nobody's like just going and being like, we always had one person. Somebody would pick up, like players would pick up. You'd had that one big aggressive person who's going to just go and clear everything out and head it. They don't have that. I think when I was at Rangers, there was big personalities that could drive you forward, that gave you instruction on the pitch, and I just don't see that at this moment in time. Rangers really struggle to break down defensive teams.
Yeah, Mikey Moore's 18 now, by the way, so he'll be registered and be available again soon. So very final, just a brief one, because we need to move on. I know so many questions at the moment, but the situation with Nico Raskan, we brought it up last week. He's obviously becoming a bit of a bit part player in terms of a starting role at the moment, which Al, he's not going to be happy with. So you've got Russell Martin coming into the football club. He wants to, the players to adapt to his ways, and there's a clear style that the new owners, the board obviously identified Russell Martin. You know what you're getting, but the fans want success right now, so they don't want to play the waiting game again, and everything's being questioned. If you end up ostracising potentially your best player and then you lose him and it doesn't work out for the manager, that's a massive problem for the football club, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge problem, but I don't think he's been played in his best position. That's just my opinion. I like him when he gets the ball and he picks it up off the defenders. He can drive forward. He can see a pass coming onto the game. See, when he's up there already and he's back to play and things, I don't think that's his strongest position. So Rothwell's come in and he's playing that deeper line role. So whether Raskin doesn't like what the manager said, or there's been conversations behind the scenes or whatever, this is your new position for me. This is where you're going to play unless he's maybe injured and whatever. So it is a problem. He's one of your biggest assets in terms of
how it plays out.
Value as well. So
you'd think Rangers would need to build around players like that. But anyway, let's move on to the Sunday games, Michael. We did a lot there on that last game. Dundee United Hearts. First of all, dramatic ending to the match from the Jambos fans' point of view. We were talking about Tony Bloom and his comments last week. Building momentum. You think Aberdeen last season and what happened with Yemi Tilene at the start of the campaign, it feels like Hearts right through the cup campaign and scoring goals and adding more players to the squad in the first two league games of the season now are building a lot of momentum. Yeah,
it certainly does. What I'd say as well is about the two victories they've had so far. It's not as if it's been, scintillating incredible football. What it shows is pure grit and determination. They've got a team that will clearly work their backsides off, and they'll keep going right till the end. And a lot of that comes from, leadership, the manager, and you look at this strong core of the side as well. Hearts have got a few wee issues though in the team though, in terms of, and I've mentioned this before, the right hand side's still not solved. Young Adam Forrester's on loan to St Johnstone, looks like he's coming back.
Might not be for long. Yeah,
I think he has been recalled. I think it's done. But Borchgrevink's injured. This is almost I think it's his second injury he's already had in the short space of time he's been at the club. I'm not convinced that he's the answer anyway. So I think they need to sort out that right side. And then obviously they've brought in a number of wide men. Kerjota came on on yesterday. Wants to play on the right, cutting on his left. So we need to see if they've got a wide player that can play there. But right back at the moment seems to be a bit of a problem position for them.
You can still get a bit excited, Michael, can't you? Dramatically, winner, beating Aberdeen, beating Dundee United to start the season. Come on, Mikey.
Oh, by the way, absolutely.
Not all doom and gloom.
I'm talking about. I'm meaning in terms of for Hearts to kick on here, because Tony Bloom's come out and said it, and I don't think you can ridicule this guy because he's done. He's walked the walk. He knows. He knows what he's talking about here. And what I'm meaning is in terms of if Hearts can recruit a couple of key positions, they're going to be in an incredibly strong position to potentially capitalise on the turmoil that could, unfold at Ibrox, is my point here. That we saw Aberdeen have such a bright start last season. We spoke about them, challenging and then almost like challenging for second place, and they fell away so badly. Hearts, if they get their ducks in a row, they could position themselves to really challenge. I think that, I'm not going to say they'll finish second, but I do think they will finish closer than any previous season to that those two from Glasgow.
Well, we'll see. A lot of positives. Harry Milne playing well. Braga standing out at times too. The goalkeeper, clearly some question marks. If we have a look at the highlights of the game, I don't know what you think on Xander Clark on the first goal, the free kick, Michael, but that's maybe another area of slight question being raised moving forward. I don't know what you think.
The first goal, the free kick, there is no question that Xander Clark will know himself. He doesn't move his feet, so there's no spring. He doesn't get across to make the save. It's a great strike from Dolchek, there is no doubt about it. But the build-up to the free kick was poor as well, and there's no surprise that Derek McInnes made two subs on the right-hand side, Kent and Forrest being pulled off at half-time. The right-hand side was the problem. But yeah, concerning Xander Clark not showing a great deal of confidence with the attempted saves that he had. But Stuart
Finley's delivering though. Chaos at the end here, Al.
Oh my word.
Oh, you've got to love it. I mean, how he's managed to get that in that far past the post is incredible. But we've seen it before from him. That's why Derek McInnes wanted him at the club. He knows what he's getting from him. He knows he's a leader. He can come up with big, important goals at moments like that, and you get the 3 points. And probably nearly blew the roof off the place after that, coming back and winning. So ideal.
And his first header was absolutely magnificent as well. Look, a lot of positivity from the Hearts fans. Dundee United, clearly in the end, it's a sore one, Michael, because they played well large parts of the game off the back of what happened in Vienna as well. I think they're about to add another player to the squad. Again, 1 point out of 6, you think, looking at the league table, maybe a bit harsh in the way they played the first 2 games. But Jim Goodwin closing in on a new contract. If you look at the newspaper headlines, a lot to like at the football club as well.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of games against Unistrasse in Europe were not great. They really were not great. But you look at, the progress that they've made is credit to the coaching staff, because the way they're looking to play, and I've mentioned this before, it's a bit of a sort of nuanced system that takes a bit of time to work through. It's not like a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, and players can sort of almost fall into that just with that back three, the 2 wing backs, and then when they had everybody fit, they had Dolchek and Trapanovsky as 2 sort of 10s, a bit of a box. It's a wee bit nuanced, and it takes time to work. Then they've suffered injuries to key players, which is, you've got to feel for Dundee United. But they're fingers crossed they've got enough fit players that make it a positive outcome on Thursday night, and they can get through the playoff game. But I mean, Jim Goodwin, the more time he gets to spend with the players in the training park, you can see that progress has been made with him, and he will keep Dundee United being competitive. He's another one of those managers that drills them well.
I feel there's a lot of strong teams. Do you not think? Let's see, when you were sitting and we're looking at the teams and what they're capable of, the European performances, it's really competitive. It's what I'm really looking forward to this season and the games that we're covering, because there's going to be some real good games, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good game. Dolchek and Sapsford as well, by the way, look like good additions, and other ones that have come in too. We need to keep moving forward. That was me just messaging the producer there, by the way, just saying 45 minutes might be ambitious again this week, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best. On to Hibs against Kilmarnock. I don't know much you saw of this one, Al, but Hibs, after a brilliant European result themselves, well placed, you think, stick-ons to take 3 points. So I know your brother would be happy, brother-in-law here. But Killy, a great comeback in this game, the opposite of what happened to them last week, but a superb comeback to take a point.
And then the mighty Killy roar back and get a draw out. No, I thought Hibs, again, midweek, really good performance. They've now got a strong squad where they can rotate, they make changes, and they were in control for me. I mean, that is a laser. Bashiri, I mean, I'm surprised it didn't knock him out, but a great finish. And then when you get here, you're up 2-0, you're thinking, Hibs are a strong team, they're just going to see it out. The big problem was the goal, this one, just before half-time. Everything changes after that. Can they be better defensively? in that situation? Can you just clear it? It's nearly half time. Don't take any chances. But it gives them then that opportunity to come back in. And
as a fullback, Al,
what a strike. Look, I'd have hit that out the stadium, personally, if it was me. But he has caught it so sweet. And by the way, he scored a number of goals this season already. And you can just see he's a confident boy. And they just got back in it. They found a way to get back in it and showed good character. You know under Kettlewell what you're going to expect. But I don't know if this was just Kelly. A little bit. Yeah, I don't know if this was has to. Look at him. Look at him. He goes absolutely mental. But he has to play him in there. It's strikers, you know what they can be like, but you need to take the better option. But I don't know if maybe Hibs just kind of tired a little bit or lost a little bit of concentration. But I think overall they've been a real good watch.
The second half became loose from Hibs, and the key to that game, as Alan was saying, was the goal that they conceded just before half time. If it's 2-0 at half time, to me it's a different game. And I know 2-0 in the second half is still a dangerous scoreline, but honestly, they were in complete control. And then all of a sudden it's 2-1 at half time. Killie have got their tails up. Killie were better in the second half, but Hibs, there was an element of tiredness. The game became like basketball. It was one end to the other. And then you get that sensational strike from Ben Brannan as well to get it level. And then there was a few moments where Killie looked like they could actually won it. Yeah. And do you know what? Watching the goal, the first goal that Killie scored, it just sort of dawned on me, and we were talking about this, is that to me probably sums up Rocky Bashiri, the difference from before to now, and why it's been such a benefit for him to play in a back three. Because predominantly before, it would have been a back four, and as the centre half, there's quite a few occasions where you could get drawn out into those wider areas to try and defend it. And when you look at that goal, it's why he plays the centre of a back three. Because when he's just defending his box, that's his strong point. That's where his strengths come to the fore. But he goes across and he just doesn't defend the situation well enough. They should never have allowed Dackers to get into the box there and cutting the ball back. There was 2v1. That was the game. That was the game. It turned and hinged on that.
Marcus Dackers looks a good player for Killie as well, or at least a very one that's going to contribute a lot and throughout their season. But for Hibs, obviously players keep on arriving too. You've just talked about Bashiri. To have Grant Hanley and his experience alongside him, Michael, that's a big boost, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. It's another sensible signing. Obviously, my positive words about Edinburgh.
Your tour of Edinburgh did the business.
Sealed the deal last week. Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, right, we need to move on to the last game then. Aberdeen, Celtic. I don't know what you were expecting from this one. The Dons, of course, a few of their fans are wondering at the moment in which direction their season might go. Disappointment after the Hearts game last week. Celtic looked very comfortable for large parts of the game, didn't they?
That's exactly it. They're comfortable. It doesn't matter what team they're playing against. If they're playing against a low block or somebody that wants to come out and press them, they're relentless. And I think this, like, Rangers can look at this and think, don't get too frustrated, just keep moving the ball quickly with pace the way Brendan Rodgers likes, and eventually you find a gap and you open them up. And that's exactly what they do. You just see it, they just keep going and just wear you down until they get that first goal.
This is brilliant.
Wonder strike. I mean, there's been a few this weekend, but that is top class, and you come to expect it from a guy of his quality. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an exceptional finish, but we've seen it. He's done it in the past. I worry for Aberdeen in terms of where's the goals coming from. I mean, I've watched Yengi a couple of times now, and I'm just thinking to myself, the midfield, how that sits and looks at this moment in time, I'm not so sure. But well, they've brought in some decent players that I do like. Milanovic is a decent player. I like the look of him, but
looks like Marko Lazetic is incoming as well from Milan.
That's the problem for me.
Well, you'd hope that, and I'm sure they are desperately hoping that Lazetic is the man that's going to put the finishing touches together. But there are a few other structural concerns that exist at Aberdeen, and I can't quite get my head round what Jimmy Tilleen was thinking yesterday when he put Nielsen and Shinnie in the middle of the park together against a Celtic midfield in particular. And that second goal that Hatate scores was a perfect example of it in terms of, well, Sheesh goes to press, almost like a trigger he went. But you can't actually do that when you have two guys in the middle of the park, Shinnie and Nelson, because they don't have the athleticism to play like that. So then what happens is you get that huge gap between the front players and the midfielders. And that was where Hatate he didn't do anything. He just drifted onto the edge of the box. And eventually Shinnie gets close. But that was the initial problem.
I did wonder myself, Michael, when I saw the team selection. Of course, we've got Celtic against Falkirk this Friday, Premier Sports Cup. Loads of games, actually, I'll tell you about later. The Cup coming this weekend. I wonder about Polvara and also Shane Morris as well, who we've talked about a lot. Every time I see them, I do ask why they're not getting more game time. Polvara seems athletic, seems to add a lot to the team when he starts, Michael, or when he gets some game time.
I'd have him in my team every week. He'd be my main midfielder. Now, last season he had a number of injuries, but every time I see Dante Polvara, I like him, and I think 2 good feet, athletic, and I think he's got a good range of passing, and Palaversa's got a great range of passing. Yeah. And you look and think, is there more to come from him? But his stop-start in the team. Jimmy Tilleen has a big decision to make here, because Shinnie and Nielsen are clearly 2 big characters. Shinnie's his captain. Nielsen is clearly his guy. It's his guy. But I don't think you can play Shinnie left back all season. Now, they brought in the German Gayamfe to play left back. He's not fit. Where are you going to put them in the team? And I just personally, I wouldn't be playing Nielsen now. I think Palaversa and Polvara are far better options in there for a multitude of reasons. But that takes a big call from the manager. And I'm not, at the moment, it seems like he's avoiding making that big call.
Mikey, this was spoke about last season, if you remember. We've done a number of their games, and we said it doesn't look like he's got the energy and the legs in that midfield to get about. And I think it's, again, you're spot on. You see it again this season. So be interesting to see what he does. I'm sure he's got a big decision to make.
It will. Obviously, the fans want more. The Celtic fans want more as well in terms of players coming in. Michael, Nygren's getting the selection at the moment ahead of Engels, which is obviously a big decision. When you look at their bench, what does Celtic need? Obviously, there's Stacey Devlin putting in a question, asking a question to you guys. And she says at least 2 wingers and a striker. I mean, is that the minimum? And a few people also saying Dyson Maeda just looks a little bit off it at the moment. It's early season. But the fans clearly want a lot more, Michael.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I said it last week. That was it. At least 2 wingers and a striker. With Jota out, they need... And by the way, Brendan Rodgers has been pretty clear about it as well. They need reinforcements at the top end of the park. He didn't want to put an exact number on it, but I think it's pretty clear for all to see that they need reinforcements at the top end of the park for Celtic to go and make an impact in Europe. So it's quite obvious the board have got targets that they'll be working on, but they've not come off yet, and it's pretty key that they get them done. In terms of Nygren, I like it. I like what I've seen so far. Understandable why he's playing ahead of Engels. He scored goals last year at Northumberland as well. He's got goals in his game. Obviously scored yesterday at Pittodrie as well. So he looks like he's fitting into that team really well. But you add a greater cutting edge at the top end of the park to then really go and make an impact in Europe. I would also point out Kieran Tierney. I honestly think just it'll take a few months. But even yesterday, you were starting to see just that little bit more from him. You get him in the final third, 1v1 against anybody, and it's the same when he's defending. His determination to beat his direct opponent is second to none.
You see, still get that pace. We still get that burst. And when he decides to put his head down and go, he's away from them. And you can see as the weeks go on, he'll get stronger. They're managing his minutes. They're being careful with him, which I totally understand.
Totally.
But, I mean, you can still see what a player. He's absolute quality. And I think he's just going to get stronger as the weeks go on.
What an addition. But Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic fans want more. Right, pretty much out of time. We better wrap this up. But just a reminder, available as a podcast as well from Tuesday morning onwards. And wherever you get your podcast, is that what all the kids say these days? I think Spotify, Apple, Google, that's the way to go. I don't know, Michael, but it's available as a podcast. Premier Sports Cup fixtures to come, as you just saw. Listen, all I know is you can get it, okay? You can get it. Right, Premier Sports Cup fixtures this weekend. Celtic against Falkirk on your 7:15 on Friday. Then Saturday, 5:15, you'll see Rangers, Alloa. All 8 of the games from the Cup are live in the Premier Sports player, if not live in the telly this weekend, so you can see all of the action. I think that's about it. I'll say thank you again to our sponsors, SPK. We really appreciate their backing, of course. And we're back next week. Michael, Alan, thank you very much. See you in the Social Club next week. Bye for now.